before the first breath.
Wait, hold on. I was cool and y'all. Wait, hold on. That boy look like a more. Chill out, chill out, chill out. Before, we go ahead and, and yeah. I just got out that gym. I said, I'm gonna just go live. Might as well. What's on with it? Cool, man. You know. Like I probably we screaming. I was just by my people house screaming over there. And I said, let me come over here. You hear me? And see what's up with it. But I'm cool. I ain't on nothing. I see I gotta lock back in. It's a lot of things I gotta do. I see I gotta lock back in. What is that? Things I gotta do. Bro, what is that? Like, what is that? Bro, what is that? Like, what is that? That's something with that. That's something with that. Static shock. Call me Static Shock. I'm Static Shock. Don't do me that. I'm just trying to, see what's up with it. Why they got that Static Shock in the background? That's probably my phone. That's them people. We static out. We static. Call me Static. She's out. You know what I mean? Let's watch what they talk.
Was drawn, Asher moved through the dark. Before the first word was spoken, energy already knew its name. In the stillness of the beginning, there was movement. A silent current humming through the void, shaping creation into rhythm and form. Every culture would one day name it differently. Prana, chi, Ashe, Hunnnhuh, Moya. But before language, it was simply life, invisible yet undeniable, the current that connects all things. What if I told you chakras weren't exclusive to Asia? What if the story of energy, of the power that rises within the human body and links it to the divine, was never a single story, but a shared human inheritance? Across the deserts of Kemet, the forests of Yoruba land, the mountains of Ethiopia, and the plains of the Congo, people were mapping the same mysteries that Indian sages would one day call the chakra system. They were observing breath, vibration, rhythm, and consciousness, and discovering that energy, not matter, is the foundation of all life. Across continents, people spoke of the same inner fire. India's prana, China's chi, Africa's ashe, Hunnnhuh, Moya. Each word points to a universal principle, that life is animated by a sacred current that can be felt, cultivated, and balanced. The names differ, but the essence remains. Prana means breath of life. Chi is the flowing energy of existence, ashe. In the Yoruba cosmology, is the creative command, the famao, the divine authority that manifests reality. And two, in the Congo spiritual sciences, is the unifying life force that binds spirit and matter. Moya, in the southern traditions, is the breath of spirit that gives motion to creation. Could it be coincidence that humanity, separated by oceans and epochs, described the same living force? Or is it proof that we once shared one spiritual science, a cosmic memory, scattered but not lost? Stay with me as we uncover the hidden map of African energy, older than borders, alive in every breath. This is not a story of imitation, but of recognition. It is the rediscovery of what has always been there, whispered in the chants of priests, echoed in the drumbeats of healers, written in hieroglyphs and carved in stone. Africa's understanding of the life force did not begin with colonization or contact. It is ancient, indigenous, and profoundly sophisticated. It lives in every movement, in every ritual, in every breath that calls upon Ashe. The power to make things happen, to bring intention into form. When most people think of chakras, they imagine the seven spinning wheels of energy described in Indian philosophy, centers of consciousness that align along the spine, connecting the physical to the divine. But the idea of energetic anatomy of the body as a vessel for sacred power was not limited to the East. Across Africa, spiritual systems also recognized that the body mirrors the cosmos, that within us lies a microcosm of the universe itself. The ancients of Kemet spoke of Ka and Ba, the dual
Ka
aspects of
and Ba.
vitality and soul.
I heard of that before.
The Yoruba spoke of Ori, the spiritual head, the seat of consciousness and destiny. The Dogon spoke of Ama's breath, the spark of creation that flows through all living things. These are not fragments of a borrowed idea. They are independent reflections of a shared truth, that life energy is universal, eternal, and divine. Think of Ashi as both vibration and command. It is the sound that speaks creation into being, the force behind every word, every movement, every heartbeat. In the human being, Asha is what fuels consciousness, creativity, and spiritual evolution. It is the rhythm that allows the drum to heal, the breath that gives power to the chant, the spark that ignites ritual transformation. When an elder says Ise at the end of a prayer, they are not simply agreeing, they are sealing intention with power. It is the moment when thought becomes manifestation. And this is where Africa's energy systems begin to converge with Asia's. The chakra tradition describes how energy rises through centers of the body, from the roots, symbolizing survival, to the crown, representing divine unity. The same principle exists in African cosmology, though expressed differently. Energy rises and falls in cycles, like the rhythm of a drum, like the flow of a river. It is circular, not linear, a dance between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter. In both traditions, alignment is everything. A person out of rhythm with the ashe, the ori, or the breath becomes spiritually unbalanced. Healing, therefore, is not only physical, and it is energetic, emotional, cosmic. This journey we're about to take is not just about comparison, it's about remembrance. For too long, African metaphysical sciences have been ignored, dismissed, or absorbed into other systems without acknowledgement. But the wisdom remains, waiting to be recognized, not as imitation, but as origin. When we trace the paths of the chakras, we are also tracing the paths of Ashe, of Ka, of Hunnnhuh, different expressions of one current, one truth, one life force. So as we begin this exploration, take a breath, feel the pulse beneath your skin, the quiet electricity running through your veins. That is Ashe, the same life force the ancients spoke of in temples and forests, and the stars and suns. It has no nationality, no language, no single name. It simply is. The current of creation, the vibration of being, the breath of existence itself.
We tend to think that our spirit is in our body. That's actually not correct. Your body is in your spirit. People always tell me,
Stay with me as we open this map.
Whoa.
A map not written on paper, but alive within the human body. The journey through Africa's energy systems begins here. To understand how African energy systems align with or differ from others, we first need to understand the chakra system at its core, not the simplified version that's often seen in pop culture, but the original deep metaphysical structure rooted in ancient Indian spiritual philosophy. The word chakra in Sanskrit literally means wheel or disc, and it refers to spinning vortices of energy within the body. These chakras are not physical organs, they are energetic centers, points where the body, mind, and spirit intersect and communicate. They form part of a subtle body system that governs emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual health. Traditional Indian teachings describe 7 primary chakras aligned vertically along the spine from the base to the crown of the head. Each chakra corresponds to a specific region of the body, a specific element, a frequency, a spiritual lesson, and a stage of consciousness. The first chakra, called Muladhara, or the root chakra, is associated with survival, grounding, and physical stability. The second, Svadhisthana, governs creativity, sensuality, and emotion. The third, Manipura, represents power, confidence, and will. The fourth, Anahata, is the heart chakra, the bridge between the lower physical centers and the upper spiritual realms, associated with love, compassion, and harmony. The fifth, Vishuddha, is the throat chakra, tied to communication and truth. The sixth, Ajna, often called the third eye, deals with intuition and perception. And finally, the seventh, Sahasrara, or crown chakra, is the gateway to divine consciousness, the point at which the individual merges with the universal. These chakras are not standalone, they are connected by nadis, energetic channels or pathways that carry prana, the life force, throughout the body. There are said to be 72,000 nadis, but 3 are most important: Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Ida is associated with the lunar energy, cooling, feminine,
Why is a
introspective.
snake?
Pingala relates to solar energy, heating, masculine, active. Both intertwine like serpents along the spine and feed into Sushumna, the central channel through which Kundalini energy rises. Kundalini is depicted as a coiled serpent resting at the base of the spine, a dormant potential waiting to be awakened. The awakening of Kundalini, the rise of this energy from the root to the crown, is the goal of many yogic and tantric traditions. But it is not simply about accessing power. It is a path of spiritual purification and integration. As the energy rises, it pierces through each chakra, activating different layers of self-awareness, unlocking trauma, wisdom, and divine remembrance. It's a spiritual alchemy, a process of turning base energy into enlightened consciousness. The alignment of these chakras is, in essence, the alignment of self with soul and of soul with source. What makes this system profound is that it is not dogma. It is experiential metaphysics. It's felt in meditation, in the breath, in the silence between thoughts. The breath itself, or pranayama, becomes the key tool to cleanse and activate the chakras. Every breath becomes a message to the body, telling it whether we are at peace or in conflict. The rhythm of the breath mirrors the rhythm of life. Shallow, erratic breathing short-circuits the energetic body. Deep, intentional breathing restores flow, clarity, and connection. Through breath, the chakras spin in harmony. This is why chakra work is not just about healing or spirituality in a vague sense. It is about realignment. When the root is blocked, we feel anxious and unsafe. When the heart is closed, love cannot flow. When the throat is suppressed, truth becomes stuck in the body. The energetic system tells the story of our lives, where we are blocked, where we are open, where we are hiding, and where we are ready to rise. Chakra philosophy teaches that health is not the absence of pain, but the presence of balance. And yet, this balance is not static. It's dynamic, like a song or a dance. Energy is meant to move. The 7 chakras are not linear rungs on a ladder, but living stations of spiritual evolution. We move through them not just once, but many times. We circle back, revisit lessons, rise again, spiraling upward like DNA, like the Milky Way, like the serpent rising in Sushumna. This is why ancient systems often use mandalas, spirals, and circular symbols to represent enlightenment. Spiritual growth is not a straight path. It's a cycle of remembering. Understanding chakras in this deeper way prepares us to compare, not to collapse other systems into one, but to see what might resonate across traditions. As we journey into Africa's own energy maps, from Ashe to Ori, from Ka to Hunnnhuh, we're not looking for direct replicas, but echoes of a universal language. Just as India mapped energy in the body with the chakras, Africa too was listening to the body, not through Sanskrit scrolls, but through rhythm, symbol, and song. Yet, as Asia mapped this inner universe, Africa was tracing her own, not in scrolls of Sanskrit, but in rhythm, symbol, and song. In the next section, we'll explore that African energetic framework, the breath of Asha, the wisdom of Ori, the power of Ka, and how they mirror, expand, or transform what we've come to call the chakra system. Because this isn't just about understanding energy, it's about remembering that humanity, in all its diversity, has always sought the divine within. Long before yoga studios echoed with chants of and diagrams of chakras filled wellness manuals, African civilizations were mapping their own energy systems, not on paper, but through oral wisdom, embodied rituals, sacred symbols, and rhythmic practice. These systems weren't separated into science, philosophy, and spirituality. They were lived. They moved through prayer, breath, architecture, music, language, and the body. To understand Africa's energy map is to re-enter a worldview where everything is alive, and where energy is not a metaphor, but a reality. Let's begin in West Africa, with the Yoruba people, whose cosmology remains one of the most deeply preserved metaphysical traditions on the planet. At the heart of Yoruba philosophy lies Ashe, the creative life force, the power to make things happen, to speak and be heard by the universe. Ashe is not a concept. It is the current that moves through all things, divine and earthly. It is present in words, in rituals, in the breath itself. To have Ashe is to be alive, to be potent, to be connected to source. Every being, every object, every word carries a portion of Ashe, but its use must be aligned with balance and intent. Closely linked to Ashe is Ori, the spiritual head. While the physical head governs the body, Ori governs the soul's journey. It is the seat of inner consciousness, the personal deity that guides destiny. In essence, Ori is both your higher self and your life's roadmap. Just as the crown chakra in Indian tradition opens to divine wisdom, Ori is consulted for alignment, clarity, and direction. Before major rituals or decisions, Yoruba practitioners will invoke Ori first, because without alignment to one's spiritual head, all other energies remain in conflict. Ori carries one's fate chosen before birth, and only through reverence and connection can that fate unfold harmoniously. Journeying northeast to Kemet, ancient Egypt, we encounter a different yet parallel energy framework.
Then what about the moment when you actually realize that you're not here by accident? That there is a God that really loves you so much.
The Ka was understood as the vital life force or essence that animates the physical body. It entered at birth, sustained the person throughout life, and departed at death. Offerings were made to the Ka to sustain it even after death, showing that the Kemetic people understood energy as both personal and immortal. Complementing the Ka was the Ba, often translated as the soul or the unique spiritual personality. While the Ka represented vital force, the Ba represented the individuality that could travel between worlds, a mobile consciousness that survives the body and returns to the source. Then there was Sekim, or Sechin, a lesser known but powerful concept in Kemet, the divine spiritual energy akin to what others might call Kundalini or Shakti. Sekim was considered the force of transformation, healing, and ascension. It was often depicted as energy flowing through the spine, associated with the serpent symbol and royal power. Temples, statues, and even architecture in Kemet were designed according to energetic alignments, with columns representing spines, sanctuaries representing the higher self, and pylons symbolizing gateways between realms. The human body was a sacred vessel, a temple through which the divine current flowed, and mastery of this current was the path to immortality. In Central Africa, particularly among the Congo people, we encounter the concept of Ntu, the unified life force that permeates all beings and connects them to each other and to the universe. Ntu is not confined to humans. It flows through animals, trees, rivers, ancestors, and spirits. It is a totalizing force, one that erases the artificial boundary between the material and spiritual. To live in harmony with Ntu is to live in sync with the cosmic rhythm. And to act against it is to invite imbalance, illness, or misfortune. The Congo also speak of Nkisi, sacred objects or vessels that house and direct spiritual energy. An Nkisi can be a statue, a bundle, or a charm, but its function is consistent: to channel force, to focus intention, to intervene in the energetic field. Nkisi often correspond to specific parts of the body: heart, head, womb, activating and protecting the energy centers that sustain life. Further east in Ethiopia, we find a fusion of Christian liturgy and indigenous energetic understanding. Here, the concept of Zema, a sacred musical and vibrational tradition, is used not only for praise but for activation. Zema is not just melody, it is vibration as theology. It's used in prayer, chant, and processional movement to raise spiritual consciousness. The music is often structured to mimic breathwork and heartbeat, and when performed in the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela or the high-altitude monasteries, it becomes an immersive, energetic experience. Through Zima, the human body becomes an instrument tuned to divine resonance. What's striking across all these traditions is how they understood the human body as an energetic map. The head, heart, and womb consistently appear as sacred centers, each housing specific forms of power. The head is consciousness and destiny. Ori, Ka. The heart is emotion and harmony. Anahata, Ba Ase. And the womb or gut is creation and grounding. Ntu, root chakra. Unlike rigid doctrine, African systems often activated these centers through embodiment, through dance, drumming, chanting, and breath. These weren't passive rituals, they were technologies of the self. Every movement was a prayer, every sound a tuning fork for the soul. Rituals aligned the energetic body with nature's cycles, moon, sun, seasons, creating spiritual harmony. And this is the key insight. Africa's temples taught what Asia later named that divinity flows through the human vessel, like electricity through gold. The spine, in both traditions, becomes the sacred conduit. The breath becomes the fuel, the word becomes the command. In both systems, imbalance in energy is not just a medical problem, it's a cosmic misalignment. Healing is not just about the body, but about remembering one's purpose, realigning with spirit, and restoring sacred rhythm. So when we speak of African energy systems, we are not looking at echoes of the East. We are looking at equally ancient, equally advanced metaphysical sciences, systems that emerged independently but reflect the same universal insight, that the body is not just flesh, but frequency, that life is not random, but rhythm, that energy is not metaphor, but memory, and that deep within the breath, the beat, and the body, the divine is always moving.
So why do I start things and never finish them?
It's all due to something called law of sustainment. In psychology, the law of sustainment.
In the next section, we'll begin to look directly at how these systems, African and Asian, mirror one another, sometimes in language, often in function, and always in spirit. Because if all these traditions are singing the same song in different tongues, then perhaps humanity's greatest truth was never hidden, just scattered, waiting to be remembered. When you place the chakra system side by side with Africa's indigenous energy frameworks, you begin to notice a fascinating resonance, not in aesthetics, nor in identical beliefs, but in function, in structure, in purpose. What emerges is not a hierarchy, nor a contest of origins, but a shared spiritual intuition that energy lives within us, that it governs our lives, and that when we understand it, we remember who we are. Let's begin with consciousness, the crown of both systems. In Indian philosophy, the Ajna chakra, often called the third eye, and the Sahasrara, or crown chakra, are the highest centers of energetic awareness. Ajna is about vision and insight. Sahasrara is the portal to divine unity. They are understood as the governing points of perception and destiny, the seat of spiritual vision and cosmic connection. In Yoruba cosmology, this function belongs to Ori, the spiritual head. Ori is not just the brain or the mind. It is one's personal deity, the seat of consciousness, and the keeper of one's life path. Every soul chooses its Ori before birth. And throughout life, success, failure, joy, and suffering are all dependent on how aligned one is with their Ori. Like the crown chakra, Ori must be honored, fed, and consulted. It is the first invoked in rituals. It governs intuition, decision-making, even the ability to receive Ashe. When a person is out of alignment in Yoruba thought, it is not the external world that must be fixed. It is their Ori that must be restored to balance. Compare this to chakra work. When the third eye is blocked, perception dims. When the crown is closed, one feels disconnected from meaning and purpose. In both cases, consciousness is not just a cognitive process. It is sacred alignment. Then there's the force that animates the system, the rising power within. In India, this is Kundalini, the coiled serpent of energy resting at the base of the spine. When awakened, it rises through each chakra, unlocking new levels of awareness, eventually merging with divine consciousness. In Africa, this animating force is known by many names, but among the Yoruba, it is Ashe, the sacred power that makes things happen. Ashe is not a dormant potential. It is always active, always present. But like Kundalini, it can be blocked, misused, or magnified. It is summoned in speech, in song, in prayer, in action. And when it flows fully, a person becomes powerful, not in ego, but in alignment. Kundalini rises, Ashe moves. One coils like a serpent, the other flows like breath, but both transform. They do not merely energize the body, they elevate the soul. They bring chaos into rhythm, turning fragmented life into sacred design. And in both systems, the movement of energy is a spiritual journey, one that demands discipline, intention, and humility. Beyond these individual points lies the network, the lines of communication between energy centers. In Indian thought, these are the nadis, subtle channels like rivers of prana connecting chakras to each other and the universe. The three main nadis, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, spiral up the spine, forming the energetic backbone of spiritual practice. Their dance is one of balance, feminine and masculine, lunar and solar, stillness and action. When they are in sync, energy flows. When they are blocked, dis-ease enters. In African traditions, this network is rarely described in anatomical diagrams, but it is felt, moved, and activated. In the Congo, for example, spiritual healing often uses drumming and dance to restore the energetic flow of N2 through the body. The drumming is not arbitrary, it is mathematical, rhythmic, intentional. It stimulates specific energy points in the feet, hips, heart, and head, aligning them through vibration. The same is true in Yoruba ceremonies where different Orisha are invoked through specific drum patterns and dances. The body becomes a moving prayer, each movement a clearing of energetic channels. Even among the Zulu, Maasai, and other East and Southern African cultures, you find movement rituals that mimic the serpents, the wave, the spiral. The energetic body is seen as a field, not as isolated points, but as a living rhythm. Illness is seen as an energetic disharmony. Healing involves resetting that rhythm through sound, breath, herbs, water, and movement. This is identical in principle to chakra healing through Reiki, chanting, pranayama, and mudras.
I need some blush and color on this face right now. Miracle Balm is such a staple in my makeup routine. If they came out with this.
So we return to a deep philosophical insight, a way of understanding not just energy, but life itself. The African path didn't climb upward, it moved in circles. Energy rose, returned, and rose again, like seasons, like breath. This truth is reflected in African time, which is cyclical, not linear. It's an African ritual, where power is not reached through escape, but through return. To the ancestors, to the earth, to the self. The circular dance is a spiral of growth. One rises by returning, and the returns by rising. At this point, the skeptic might ask, was this similarity due to cultural diffusion? Did these ideas spread through trade routes, conquests, or shared migrations? Or is this simply universal perception? Evidence that human beings, regardless of geography, can feel the same forces, describe the same energies, and reach the same spiritual conclusions. The truth may be both and neither. Perhaps humanity once shared a single metaphysical root, fragmented by geography and time. Or perhaps these are parallel revelations, born of the same inner spark. The point is not to collapse African systems into Indian ones, nor to rank one as older or superior. The point is to recognize that spiritual universality does not require uniformity. It flourishes in diversity, each tradition offering a lens into the same sacred current. And in honoring both traditions, we gain not confusion, but clarity. We see that whether it's Kundalini rising or Ashe flowing, whether it's Nadi spinning or into dancing, the human quest has always been to remember our energy, align with its purpose, and live as a vessel of sacred power. So as we move to the final act of this journey, we shift our gaze from ancient parallels to modern responsibility. Because knowing that these systems exist is not enough. They must be protected, revived, and reintegrated, not just as spiritual curiosities, but as blueprints for holistic living in a world that has forgotten its rhythm. There is a quiet tragedy in the story of African metaphysics, not because it died, but because it was silenced. The systems we've explored in this journey, Ase, Ori, Ka, and Zema, were never lost to time. They were targeted. Colonialism did not merely seize land, labor, and bodies, it waged war on memory, on the invisible architecture of belief, on the unseen technologies of spirit, on the knowledge systems that taught African people how to breathe with intention, speak with purpose, and live in tune with energy that their ancestors had mastered for millennia. Missionaries called it superstition. Scholars dismissed it as mythology. Colonial governments outlawed the rituals, banned the drums, called tune with energy that they breathe with intention. On the knowledge systems that taught African people how to breathe with intention, speak with purpose, and live in tune with energy that their ancestors had mastered for millennia. Missionaries called it superstition. Scholars dismissed it as mythology. Colonial governments outlawed the rituals, banned the drums, burned the symbols, and dismantled the institutions that safeguarded metaphysical knowledge. The temples of Nubia were flooded by dams. The sacred groves of the Yurooo were cleared for roads. The Nkisi of the Congo were destroyed or stolen for museum shelves, and yet the silence they tried to impose never fully took hold. The heartbeat remained, in whispers, in ceremony, in song. But with that systemic erasure came consequences, not just cultural, but spiritual. When a people forget how to align their energy, how to listen to their Ori, how to direct Asha through prayer and intention, they don't just lose heritage, they lose power. The loss of metaphysical literacy is not theoretical. It affects how we heal, how we lead, how we build, how we dream. Without energetic awareness, people become vulnerable to manipulation, to fear, to cycles of violence and disconnection. The colonization of the soul was the most dangerous conquest of all. And so, the call now is not to simply observe or admire these ancient systems, but to reclaim them. Not through imitation, but through immersion, through study, through reverence. African energy systems were not accessories to spirituality, they were its foundation. They explained the relationship between breath and divinity, between vibration and healing, between ritual and reality. They offered tools, language, dance, movement, geometry, chant, not for performance, but for transformation. Reclamation means more than revival. It means integration. It means educating ourselves and our children, not just in the histories of empires and resistance, but in the sciences of the soul. Imagine if African children learned not just about Mali and Kemet, but about their own energy, about Ori, about Ashe, about the divine spark they carry. Imagine a generation raised not just to remember, but to channel, to become spiritual engineers of a world that has been split from its essence.
What distinguishes Indian food is its magical use of spices.
In this moment, we are standing at a crossroads. The world is hungry for healing. People search for mindfulness, for presence, for reconnection. Yoga, Reiki, breathwork, sound healing. These have become global wellness tools. And yet, so often, African systems are left out of the conversation. Or worse, borrowed without attribution, rebranded, diluted, and sold back without soul. This is not integration. This is appropriation, and it must end. Reclaiming ancient energy maps means honoring the people who carried them through fire, It means supporting African-led spiritual scholarships, protecting sacred spaces, listening to elders, and refusing to let the narrative be rewritten again. It means saying the names Hunnnhuh, Ase, Ori, Ka Ba Ase. It means acknowledging that they are not just cultural terms. They are technologies, they are wisdom systems, they are medicine. Now, chakras were never just Asian. The life force speaks many names, and Africa was speaking it all along. And the truth is, it still is. In the beat of the drum, in the rhythm of the breath, in the hush of the forest where initiates still gather, in the voice of the elder pouring libation, in the silence between the notes of Zema. The knowledge was never fully erased, only hidden, waiting for those willing to listen, to remember, to rise. This isn't just about Africa. It's about all of us. Because the human body, regardless of skin, language, or lineage, runs on sacred energy. And when that energy is blocked, humanity suffers. But when it flows, creation becomes possible again. Balance is restored. The soul wakes up. So let this be a beginning, not an end. Ashe, Chi, Prana. Different tongues naming one truth. Life itself is sacred energy. To awaken it is to remember who we are. If this journey expanded your awareness, don't let it stop here. Like this video to feed the algorithm of a way.
And that's all, folks.